Alright guys, so here it is. This is the 50 by 50 garden for the winter. Gonna try to make this fairly decent video. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be plowing all of this up. We should have had this planted about a month ago, but with the tiller being broken, work being busy, and just things around the house, I'm falling behind. So what I did to catch up was we went and bought some 6-pack vegetable containers up at Home Depot. And that's going to give me about a 1-month jump ahead. So hopefully that month that I lost, I just gained. Now what I'll also do is I'll also plant 1 row of cabbage. Then I'll put 1 row of cabbage seeds down. So that way I'm staggered also a month. And down here in the south, it really doesn't matter. It'll work out fine. So let me take you in and show you what some of this dirt looks like. Now this is the second year, or no, this is the second planting season that we're doing on this garden. So this is a pretty new garden. So let's take a look at it. All right. So here's what we're looking at. This dirt, when you first get into the garden, you can see it. This dirt looks pretty good. Up to here, right around that edge, and back over here. All the dirt in this area gets worse as you move in that direction. But if you look at this dirt here, it's pretty good dirt. You'll see, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's some little green sprouts coming up. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. There's some little green sprouts coming up. That's grass and weeds. And I'm going to try to turn that under as deep as I can. Now, I have not touched this soil in probably 2 weeks, okay? But you can see here that this soil here looks pretty good. Focus. There we go. So you can kind of see it. Crumbles real well. This is pretty good dirt in here. I mean, you see how dark it is. Let's see if I can. Now, there's some rocks in here and some stones. But for the most part, this is pretty good dirt over here. Okay? Even got a little cantaloupe plant coming up there. See, look. Right there, that's cantaloupe. There's another one right over there. Now, I'm not planting cantaloupes. That's just what's coming up from what was here. Alright, now if you walk over here, you see how this dirt changes colors and it starts to get real clay. It's got a lot of clay and rocks in it. Look at this dirt. I mean, it's just clumps up. And then check these out, there's tons of these rocks in here, and these are actually geodes. Now there's some oyster shell in here, but we've been trying to pull all these rocks out. But I mean, look, like there's one geode, there's a geode, there's one, here's one, there's one. I mean, man, sometimes I feel like I'm farming rocks. So what we're going to do, ducks are griping at each other. So what we're going to do is just plow it up and get it ready so we can plant tomorrow, because I want to plant. So let's get started. Alright guys, so today we're going to be sporting the old 1986, it's somewhere between 82 and 86, Troy built tiller. The plan for attack is I'm going to probably take down the blades maybe 2 notches, the tiller tines. I'm going to put it in low gear I'm going to go around the perimeter maybe once or twice as best as I can. Do the middle, right? Do the field. Then I'll probably drop it down maybe 4 inches and go over it once, maybe twice, and then drop it down as deep as it'll go. My plan today is to bottom this out. And if you try to do this with a regular rototiller in a garden this size, it would take forever and a day. I mean, forever and a day. With this, I could probably knock it out in about an hour. So let's find out. Still picking rocks out of the garden. So, a couple things to talk about. You'll hear the tiller as it revs up and down. And the reason for that is that when I bury it into the dirt and it starts to really bog down and bite, the engine will smooth out. And it's because that engine is tuned, that carburetor's been tuned to operate under high stress. Okay, so that's why sometimes when you hear engines that rev a lot and they're not under stress, and then when you put them under stress, they'll smooth out. That's why. Okay. The other thing is this dirt is perfect for tilling today. Today is Tuesday. What was it? Friday? I think it was Friday or Saturday. It rained all day. And the way you tell if dirt is good for tilling is grab yourself some dirt, and you can see how it just breaks apart. Okay, but let's grab some more. Check it out. And if you give this a good squeeze and shake that off, when you let go, that should be a clump. It's not too dry, it's not too wet. That's just right. That's what you want when you're plowing this dirt, when you're tilling it. So I got just a little bit more to finish, right from there to about there, and then I may call it a night, and then I may come back out here until one more time in the morning and try to get real deep, because tomorrow I want to plant. So, you know, you do what you can. A lot of people say, man, I'm too busy. I can't have a garden. I can't have fresh produce. That's just an excuse. If you come home 3 days a week, about an hour or two before the sun goes down, that's all it takes. You just get home, slip on your work boots, your work tennis shoes, and you get out here and you work just a few hours. Now, granted, weather will give you some trouble and a little heartache every once in a while, because if it rains and it gets too wet to get in there to work, well, then, things can get out of hand. But if you can get into a garden about 3 times a week, right, you can have yourself a real decent garden. And actually less than that. My raised flower beds over there, man, I mess with those things like once a week, maybe. Lately I've been doing like once every 2-3 weeks. So, you don't, a lot of people just make excuses for this. Now, once where you get in over your head is get in a big garden like this and then planting like 3-4 rows of green beans, right? Green beans come on hard and they come on thick and then they die quick, right? Well, you got to eat all those green beans. And with a garden this size, you ain't going to eat all them green beans. So you got to pick them. And they're only good on the vine once they hit prime. They're only good on the vine for a few days. And then that's where you got to pick them like every other day. Well, then you get them. And you got to do something, because once you pick them, a green bean is truly in its prime. I've heard anywhere from 3 hours to a day. And then after that, they're gone. They're trash. So with stuff like that, where you can get in trouble is overplanting, and then you get in trouble where you got to put it up, because putting it up can be time consuming. Because in the summertime, when you got green beans to can, when you got 20 quarts of green beans to put up, and you got figs to put up, and it just starts piling up, and your zucchini's coming on hard, and your yellow squash is coming on hard. And so that's where getting into different ways of preserving is real interesting. We're going to get into that, preserving. But yeah, I mean, anybody can do this. And I'll tell you what, it relaxes you. It keeps you young, keeps you strong, mentally and physically. It relieves stress, right? And I mean, it's an amazing hobby, if you want to call it that. But for us, it's more than a hobby. For us, this is how we get in a lot of our produce. Now we go down to Wally World and we can buy whatever we want, right? Cabbage and all that, but it's not homegrown, right? We don't know what chemicals they're putting it on. Now, I'm not necessarily organic, but I know what's going on and what's feeding these plants. When you got some big corporate farmer out there, you don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to make a harvest, and make money to put in their pocket. And they got to make a living too. I'm not bashing on them. But you don't know what chemicals they're using, what pesticides they're using. You don't know any of that. No. So if I can, I'm going to eat out of my garden or out of somebody else's garden, right? But we put a couple heads of cabbage up in here and make some homemade sauerkraut and just stuff like that, guys. And preserve it, and then that feeds our family for that year and more. We're eating on preserves 4 or 5 years old, and they say not to do that, but I tell you what, when you've been preserving for a long time, you got 2-3 generations worth of preservers, and you know how to preserve food, you know how not to screw it up, right? Yeah, you're gonna make a mistake every once in a while, but that's where you got to keep your head on a swivel. And when you open those jars up, there's little key signs, little details to look for, and you'll know immediately, if that food's gone rancid. But out of my entire life of eating out of canned goods, out of jars, mason jars, my mama putting up stuff, my dad putting up stuff, my grandfather, my grandmother, and eating stuff that I mean, high acidic foods like pickles. I've eaten pickles, man, that are almost 20 years old. Okay, they're not the best pickles, but I've done it. And there's a story behind that. One day I'll tell you all that. But you open that jar and you'll know what to look for. And out of all of these people and out of all of these years of doing it, I'm in my 30s, I've only came up with one bad jar, and it was because the seal was broken. And that's it. That's it. So guys, this is what we do. This is tilling 101. It's not that hard with this machine. Maybe I'll get here out with the rototiller and show you how hard that is. Boy, that's like wrestling a fat woman away from a buffet, man. It is back-breaking work. So, hey, I'm not hating on them either. You know, if you know what I mean. So, all right. Enough chit-chat, right? I got to get back to work. Sun's dropping. My shadow's getting long. Before long, I'm going to be a man without a shadow, and that ain't good. And the missus will be home soon. And, well, I got to be ready when she gets home, right? So, here we go.